We have a pedophile problem in our leadership.
I thought we knew that.
Well,
Oh,
some
you're
people
not
knew that.
speaking about just specifically the president.
No, no, I'm talking about like everything.
You did you
Like like
did you see the
everything.
recent video that came out
Which one?
of Biden sniffed somebody at an event and he
Oh.
thought she was trying to take a selfie and she was videoing?
So
He was like,
I
"Hey,
res
I want to tell you something, little girl. I'm gonna tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody."
is that what he said? Really?
Yes, that is what the man said. This is the president of our United States of America.
Oh boy. So I just saw
I
Sound of Freedom
definitely
very recently.
I definitely threw
And
up in my mouth a little bit.
yeah, well, if you want to throw up your mouth again, but in a good way, go
That
see
movie
Sound of
makes me
Freedom.
nervous.
It
It's
is
it is
an
I hear it's a
excellent
great movie.
movie. It is powerful, very powerful movie. I highly recommend you go see it. But after some of the performances from the pedophiles, the actors playing pedophiles, I should say, um, they do a very good job of playing pedophiles. The sniffing of kids hits different now. Like
Mm,
it it. Mm, I'm trying not to avoid. I'm trying to avoid things that could be considered high felonies. But yeah, it is. It is. It hits different. Go see it. It is totally worth it if they have the pay it forward program. So if you or your friends can't afford it, there are tickets that people have bought for you that you can go see. But just go see that movie. Um, but yeah, it hits differently after seeing that. Like you feel it now. Um, and so so for those who don't know, Tim Ballard, he is the subject of the movie. Like he's this is based on a real story, and he's the big main guy.
it's the main character.
Yeah, well, but he's the main character, and he really exists. And he's been doing some interviews on this stuff, and he talks about how in the process of chasing down pedophiles, and you sort of see this a little bit in the movie, he researches them and he tries to understand their like a lot of these guys put out literature, put out writings, and so he has to read them. I mean,
I don't want to.
the guy is brave, but um, it's the you see these sort of same kind of ideas popping up all over, and he calls them the I think he called it. I can't remember if he's referring to the doctrine of the pedophile narrative, or sorry, the doctrine of the pedophile network, or if it's a doctorate in the pedophile narrative that he was referring to about just learning these things. And according to him, he has found that they are all pushing the same kind of ideology. All of these pedophiles are pushing the same ideology.
Mhm.
They are pushing for um, I wrote it down. Let me pull it up. They're pushing the ideology is they want to separate parents from kids, sexualize kids, so make them turn them into sexualized entities. So
Mhm.
maybe that means having being discussing their gender a lot, or discussing sexual activities with them at a pretty young age, exposing them to pornography at a younger age. Then there is removing God and religion from the picture. God and religion gets in the way of this stuff. It tells them this stuff is bad and wrong, and becomes an issue for these pedophiles. And then just increasing the general legal autonomy of kids. And this is all paraphrasing. This isn't how he.
Sure.
So this is some of my words that I'm using. This is how I understand what he was saying. And you can go watch the video. Jack Posobiec retweeted or reposted Lord Bebo on Twitter, where he's interviewed for this, but it's a some kind of press interview for Sound of Freedom. So if you want to find it, it shouldn't be too hard. But the last one is they're generally in trying to increase the legal autonomy of kids. So he talks about trying to push the narrative about children being able to consent, and focusing on how you get these kids to consent. Um, and he sees this everywhere when it comes to the gender ideology that's being pushed on children, and he leaves it with the tagline of what's more fluid than gender? Age.
Right.
And it's all of this gender ideology that's being pushed so heavily and so strongly from the highest levels of pretty much every major institution is all basically pedophile propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a theory to this that you don't see as many pedophiles pushing their agenda and their narrative recently as like nearly as much as they used to, because they don't have to, because the LGBTQIA plus group is pushing the exact same narratives. And
Right.
so they're like, well, we can just sit back and let them push the narrative for us. We don't have to mess with it. We
One,
don't have to push forward. And if
but
you
to put it
look
another
at the
way,
history of the gender theory stuff, the people who started it also at the time argued for the fluidity of age
pick
and
pick a
and
pick a
were
queer theorist, pick any queer
yes,
theorist, and they have defended or advocated for pedophilia.
correct.
And if you So it's not so much that they're backed off because other people are doing it for them. I think they're just winning, basically. They have found a good channel to push this stuff
Well, what
because
I mean
all of
by
this.
that is that that pedophiles themselves, that people who are just pedophiles are no longer, you're not seeing a lot of them, the fact of them
Defend
pushing that
pedophilia directly,
narrative
right?
or pushing, yeah, or defending it because they don't have to, because there's this other group that's pushing the exact same ideology that has a much larger
It's
acceptance and
it's
is a
not even
protected group.
it's not even another group. It's the same people. It's the like if you look at a lot of these LGBTQI blah 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 people
Right.
out there, they were members of NAMBLA. They were leaders in NAMBLA. Like they were in these pedophile circles.
Define NAMBLA for those who don't know.
Was it North American Man Boy Love Association?
Yeah.
Yeah, it.
It's
I mean,
sickening and disgusting, but people need to know what that, when you
so
see that.
well, and we know with the well, we believe with the Epstein client list and the Maxwell client list that they had some very prominent, powerful people there.
No Epstein client list.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
no Maxwell client list. The only two people who ever got convicted of trafficking children to nobody.
Yeah, but we have pretty strong evidence that there was some high level people associated with them. So I'm
Like
not.
whom? Like Bill Gates
Yeah,
or
Bill Gates,
Clinton?
Clinton, like
Like
uh, highly
everybody
powerful
who has
people in
gotten,
media.
yeah, everybody who's been outed for doing something, I like, in Hollywood or in any kind of power recently, that like got caught doing whatever, every one of their names, generally almost every one of their names has been on that client list.
Flight log because we don't have the
Or
client list.
flight logs, yes, flight
Yeah.
logs.
So and we know the flight log. We're pretty sure the client list exists somewhere or existed. Maybe it's been destroyed. So
No,
we
you
know
don't
that
destroy
there
stuff like
is
that.
um
You know who has the client list, right?
the FBI.
Yep, Pentagon, right?
Oh, the Pentagon. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Well,
it belongs to the deep state, right?
yes.
The
So
the intelligence community as at large.
my
You don't
point
get
is,
rid of, as long as your name's not on it, I guarantee you they don't get rid of that. It is somewhere. It may be in a glass box with a little hammer next to it that says break in case of emergency. But
Maybe. I mean, if a high enough general in the Pentagon is on that list, he may make that list disappear. But
maybe.
I don't. I mean, there might be kryptonite to deep state. I don't know for sure, but what I do know from that, by the very fact that we believe that client list exists and it won't be released and there's prominent names on it, is that a lot of our leaders are pedophiles and are knowingly directly defending like protecting pedophiles for pedophilia.
Yes.
So,
I feel like we've known that for a while.
well, you and I have known that for a
I feel
while.
like a lot of people have known that, whether they wanted to admit it or not, they've known that for a while.
Sure, I'm just laying out the proof here a little bit.
Yeah, we're just getting more and more of the proof available to us. And
So,
by the way, for anybody who's watching this who doesn't realize this, the movie The Sound of Freedom was actually made and produced like 4 or 5 years ago, but was never released.
yep,
In its first 5 days, I think, it made
it's
over
already made.
$40 million in box office revenues versus like, I don't know, what was the new Disney movie that came out? I don't remember what it was,
uh,
but
Indiana Jones, I think, but
Indiana
it's
Jones, yeah.
it's killing
And
Indiana Jones's per
it's on
theater revenue.
right because it's on half the number of screens that Indiana Jones is. Literally July 4th, when they looked at the numbers, Indiana Jones brought in something like 10 million
Hmm.
and The Sound of Freedom brought in 14 million, and it was only showing on like 3,600 screens, and Indiana Jones was on 7,200. Can you imagine the disparity that would be there if you had it on more screens? It's outrageous.
Yeah. Well, and it's
A
are
bigger
you are
question
you
is, why wasn't it released for 4 or 5 years? Like,
well, you don't think there might be some pedophiles in Hollywood, do you?
no, I know there are.
Yeah.
I absolutely know there are.
I'm
And
just being facetious.
and they
Come
and
on, Sean. I'm doing
I
a
feel
bit.
f- I know, I know. But I feel confident that they were probably not wanting to make sure that wanted to make sure that that didn't get out into the world.
Well,
But this is
I
the reality.
my whole point is we are being led by pedophiles. A good portion of them are directly pedophiles, and then a good chunk of them are just doing the bidding of pedophiles without even looking too closely or caring.
It's pedophile adjacent.
Yeah, there's various degrees of pedophile adjacent, but there's like, for every direct pedophile, there's 5 people that are knowingly protecting a pedophile, and for every that was weird. My camera messing up,
Yep. Yeah.
but no, my phone was hacked. They want to shut down the conversation. Um,
Well, yeah. When you start talking about Epstein's client list, I mean,
on how we're
what do you want
like,
to talk about next? The Nashville Tranifesto?
that actually sounds like not that big of news in comparison, but I mean,
I mean,
you just
but
had
it's
Joe
adjacent.
Biden. I mean, Joe Biden sniffing kids. You think his handlers don't know that he sniffs kids?
Absolutely, they know.
You don't think the kids have said something to a handler at some point? So they're all kind of knowingly protecting a pedophile because it furthers their political careers or prevents injury. Like,
I mean, look at the Disney executive that was assaulting children for years.
which one?
I don't even remember his name, but
No, I
he
mean, like,
was.
which one? Because I think there are
Oh,
multiple.
well,
Like,
I'm
how?
talking about there was one that was like in charge of like the Mickey Mouse Club or something.
I mean, there
He
was,
was like a director of
what's his
production or something.
name?
Like he was.
Weinstein?
No, that's a
Weinstein?
different dude. Weinstein was the guy
Or
in Hollywood who
I thought he worked for Disney too, but
is the
yeah,
he is, I would say, probably the inspiration for people, the meme of the casting couch.
yeah. From what I
Like
hear, it's
he
yes.
definitely took advantage of young, and I'm not even going to
Yeah.
say young girls. I'm going to say young people
Oh, yeah.
because
Yep.
I mean, who was it? Terry Crews? Terry Crews,
I
I
don't
think,
think it was about.
testified before Congress about the
Well, he may not have done with Cruz, but there were
The
definitely some guys that
degeneracy of Hollywood, and
yes.
not necessarily specifically Weinstein, but just the
Oh yes.
degeneracy of things that go on in Hollywood and what he was told to do
Why do you
in
think
order
Mel
to get
Gibson
some.
got canceled? Like there's pretty strong evidence. Like he was talking about some of the debauchery and degeneracy of it, and shortly afterwards, he's videos start to come out tanking his reputation, and like you
Yeah,
could be they stopped protecting him or they put a hit piece. I mean, it's like he had his own issues, sure, but other people have had issues that they've survived better. So
plenty of other ones have had much bigger issues and that have never come to light.
yes, oh yes, or that have and they've rebounded with help. But like it's my point is like what I just talked about is separating kids. That is the gender ideology that is the forefront of the Democrat Party.
Hmm.
So without a doubt, the Democratic Party is being run by pedophiles.
They're not your kids, they're our kids. Don't you know that?
We are coming
That
for
was
your
Joe
children.
Biden. No, Joe
Right.
Biden said this, that you don't have the right to tell people what they should or what we should teach your kids because they're not your kids, they're our kids. So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
teach them what they need to know, what they need to learn.
Right.
And then, yes, that we're coming for your children.
Right. Oh, we said that for a while. That doesn't make it better. That
No.
makes it a lot worse
Yeah.
because when you look at this stuff, it goes back decades. This has been in the works for multiple decades.
And
They
people
know
wonder
they're
why I say that my kids will never, ever, ever go to a public school. I don't care. I will teach them myself. I will homeschool them.
no. I mean, it is, and the myth that like, well, when you send them to a Catholic school, don't you afraid they're going to be abused by a priest? The rate of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church is so much lower, even using the highest numbers, the highest estimates, than so much lower than public school.
Oh, I'm sure.
So much lower. Now, if you think about it, it doesn't surprise you. If you were a predator and you wanted to have access to kids or you wanted to be abound little kids, what would you do? You'd find a way to work at a public school.
Well, how about this? I jokingly talk about whenever I'm like at the range or something or out hunting, we talk about like there's a target rich environment, right? You don't go hunting
Right,
where there are no deer,
right.
right? So does it make more sense to go into the clergy where for the most part you're separated from children? You don't have a lot of access necessarily.
Right.
Or does it make more sense to become a public school educator where you get a new crop of young, impressionable children every year?
Yeah. I mean, it's like there
It's
is
sick
some.
when you think about it, but I mean, like, from a realistic standpoint, it makes sense.
I would say it's probably more likely that the priests that were abusing young boys initially went to the clergy to try to escape some of those desires, but eventually succumbed and gave in to them. And
But I mean, I don't think
but
it matters. Like,
well, no, but I'm just saying it's more
maybe,
it given the like why would you join the clergy? Now maybe I'm missing some
but
patterns that they saw to
I
go
mean,
and take advantage of that. But
if you're not like part of the concern that I have with your argument there is that you're trying to lend some sort of reasoning to why they may have done that
I'm
versus
just
just if you just assume that they were if if you don't worry about who and what, you just say if you have a person who is a pedophile
right,
or is pedophile tendencies or whatever,
right.
does it make more sense to take choice A and go to clergy or B and go to public school?
Oh, ridiculously be. But that's kind of my
Right,
point. It is so the clergy's like that's your enemy. That's fighting against your pedophilic tendencies. It's kind of my point.
right.
Because
And
that's
it
part of the doctrine of the pedophiles is that you got to
sure.
remove God. So
No, and that's what I'm saying.
maybe
Like I agree. Like that I think that's a second or whatever tier, you know, allegory. But if you look at it from like just straight outside, like where's there more opportunity for me, right? Like take that stuff out of it. Do the
Oh
same.
yeah.
You can take the same thing and be like, okay, I live in rural Montana. My job options are cattle rancher and cattle rancher because it's all there is. So, like, do I stay here and be a cattle rancher? But I went to college and got a degree
Well, then
in
you're the cattle
physics.
rancher. You're the cattle
Does it
rancher where the cattle are the tourists.
right?
But
But do you do that, or do you go to where people are doing, theoretical physics? You go to the place where if you get a degree in theoretical physics, you don't move to rural Montana, you move to some place that's doing theoretical physics.
if you're a pedophile, you go find a suburban school that's not, it's maybe a little desperate for help, isn't going to look too closely, kind of
You know what's even
underfunded.
worse? Inner cities.
Well, that's my point. It's,
Not even suburban or I mean maybe some rural, but I would venture a guess you see a lot of it in cities. A lot of it in inner cities.
I mean, the ones I've heard from are the poorer suburbs, I'd say,
Okay,
where
makes
it's like
sense.
there's the parents are it's safe enough that the parents trust the school.
Hmm.
It's they're not wealthy enough to be able to devote the resources to paying attention to their kids,
Hmm.
and so you're kind of left unmolested. I couldn't
I
think of
would
a
have
better
used
word.
the term unchecked.
I
Unchecked would have
I couldn't
because
think of another
they
word.
really, yeah, ouch. Yeah, I mean, well, you see the same stats, I think, a lot in like daycares.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Anybody
I
who's
mean,
paying attention, like you shouldn't send your kids to a daycare. There was one that I saw, there was a video I saw just not too long ago in the last couple of weeks of a daycare worker who grabbed a little girl. She couldn't have been more than like, geez, 6 maybe, and like grabbed her by the hair and slung her around in a bathroom. Like, dude, there's hard surfaces everywhere. You could have
I think I know what video you're
killed
talking
her.
about. Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I mean, and there was a while,
There was
they make
another
some
one.
excuse and she just merely gets fired instead of
There was
thrown in
another
jail.
one a while back where two different individuals were watching the same classroom and both of them assaulted kids in that classroom.
I mean,
Multiple children got assaulted in that classroom and it
if
was just it was an after school, like it was a daycare. And it's
here's
like
how you here's how you vet a daycare. If they don't allow you to put a camera in the room,
here's how it was
don't
on
go with them.
camera. They had a camera in the
No,
room.
no, but like your camera, put a webcam in your camera that you can access at any time and record. If they don't allow you to
Here's
do
a
that,
here's a better idea.
don't use daycare at all. Is that your answer? Because that's not really reasonable for most people.
Sure it is.
Okay, whatever. I know where this argument's going to go with you because
Why isn't it?
it's not a feasible. It is not financially feasible for them. They need to leave their kids somewhere, and they both need to work. Like it's just people get themselves in these situations. It sucks. They shouldn't, but they do anyways.
So I would argue that that's a choice that they made.
What's a choice that they made?
That they got themselves into that situation.
Okay.
And I think identifying it and realizing that what it is better than just saying, well, there's nothing that can be done about it. Like this is what it is. And move forward towards getting to where you don't have that problem.
Oh, sure, but you're still going to need to vet daycares at least for a time. Like
Or
you're
reconnect with your
responsible for your
family.
kids. Like again, not everybody has that option. Some people's family are worse.
I know. Don't get
Um,
me wrong. Like there's no perfect answer to any of this. I'm
No,
just
but
saying, like, I think it's a better example for families to start reconnecting
yes,
in a
in
sense
general, yes.
that okay, well, you know, hey, grandma watches the kids while you're at work, right? And
Sure.
you know,
Would you trust your parents to watch your kids?
would I trust my parents? No.
Okay. So, and that's it's
I mean, but I also don't have to worry about that.
sure. And my point is that not everybody has made all the right choices and they have to suffer the consequences. And sometimes the consequences mean they have to go with daycare for a short period of time. So to dismiss the need to vet daycare is,
Well, I'm not saying dismiss the need to vet daycare. Let me rephrase. I think that if we did things better as a society, as a group, as people,
yes.
that we would you would not need to vet daycares nearly as much because you wouldn't need them as
Oh,
much.
sure.
You'd have a half or a quarter of the number of daycares, which means you would weed a bunch of that stuff out because
Yes.
nobody's going to take their kids to a daycare that is assaulting their children,
Right. And you're
right?
going to like I mean, some of it is
And
just
if
every parent needs to be more vigilant and not just assume that the nice lady at the daycare is a nice lady and isn't just customer service facing you.
right,
Because that's like, here's the thing retail customer, think about the retail people out there that are so nice and helpful and sweet. They hate your guts. They don't want to be doing this, but that's their
yeah,
job is
but
to put on that air.
right, no, I got you. I agree, but
So
and
don't
also
trust these people,
the other
not
thing
implicitly.
the other thing is that we need to like I think we need to get back to having conversations between husbands and wives and understanding that like, look, I'll go work 3 jobs so that you can stay home with the kids.
Yes. I mean, there has to be a lot more discussion about what is what the options are, what is
Hmm.
important, and what is necessary when it comes to taking care of the kids.
Right.
There's way too many things. I think it's sort of it's almost treating kids as like advanced pets, where it's as long as we keep them alive, we're fine. And no,
They're accessories.
what do you think a pet is?
They're well, pets have become accessories to a certain extent too, but they're accessories. Like most, not most. There are a lot of people who the only thing they ever talk about, and the only thing that they like they're talking about like their kids. Like it's and it's not because they're like just super proud of them. It's more of like, look at me, look at
It's
my
they're
thing.
being a
It's like
good
having
father or mother is a part of their identity.
it's like they bought a Birkin bag. Like, look at how much better I am than you. I
Yeah,
have this, or my
look at
child
how
does that.
successful is my yeah. No, absolutely.
It,
It's
and
they're probably a intersection of pets and accessories. You're right. And I think that is
sickening. I'm sorry. What?
it,
That wasn't what you were saying.
I mean it's I need it barely registers on my sickening meter to be fair compared to the more recent
Well, based on
topics.
what you
But
just watched, yeah.
yeah, I mean it really adjusts your sickening level of things.
Well, you could argue that
But
that behavior is what leads to what you got to watch and witness.
I don't know if I'd say it leads to that.
Really?
I don't
I can make that argument if you'd like. How many kids
no.
die in the back seat of cars every year because they got left in the middle of summer?
Yeah, but I mean that's
How do you disregard the health of your child and care about your child enough that you forget that they're back there?
no, I mean there's horrible things that result from it. Some that are arguably worse. But um
I'm just saying, like, it's a mindset and a theory. Like, if
oh,
you're of a person who has that mindset that your kid is an attachment or is a pet or whatever, you're the
your
same
kids are
type
more
of person.
vulnerable to certain types of predation, but I don't know it necessarily brings about the predation.
No, not necessarily brings about the
Okay.
predation, but what it does do is it puts it 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 sets them up to be in the worst possible position to be attacked by a predator.
Yeah, I guess it you can make an
It
argument that they're
it
enabling it a
creates
little
it
bit.
creates them to be prey, it molds them to be prey.
Yes, yes.
Because a lot
I'd
of
agree
those
with that.
same things are like that's when you get, divorced families and kids that don't have a father role. Like one of the things who was it? There was a guy who did a really prominent interview back in like the 80s that he was a pedophile that did an interview and he was a former coach or something at a local school, and he even stated he was like if they had a strong father in the home or in their lives at all, they wouldn't. He's like I wouldn't even mess with it because it was just too dangerous. Like it just wasn't worthwhile.
Well, and it's one of those things that's it's hard to build the trust when people aren't as desperate for trust. So if you have a good father figure, then you have a
Right.
strong authority figure that you can trust. So you can tell them things. You can tell them secrets or bring up concerns or help work through problems. And
Right.
one, having done that, you're going to be a little bit wiser to things. And two, if your coach comes up to you and says something, you can mention it to your dad. But if your dad's
Right.
absent, if there's no father figure in the home, if you're kind of left to your own devices, you're just left to stew on that. And you being young and naive, which just goes with the territory of being young,
Right.
you're gonna and they're trusted by everybody else in the community.
Yeah.
You think,
Exactly.
oh, they're trusted by everyone. Well, they've been
That's my
vetted.
point. Yeah.
So, oh, absolutely. I mean, this is all part of separating kids from their parents,
Right.
breaking down the family structure. So this whole attack on parents, the
It's the destruction of the family unit.
oh yes, well, but it's like, and these parents caring about these child's education are extremists. Oh my God, that should raise all of the red flags.
It's amazing to
All of
me
the red flags.
how many people don't see that as a red flag
I,
at all. Like they just don't even they're like, "Well, what's the big deal?" Like they just want to make sure that your child gets taught properly.
uh,
Oh, that's so sweet that you are that naive.
like it's the thing you got to look for is they say these terms like properly. Who gets to define properly? And you think, what well, it's the people in the Department of Education. What I'm telling you is those people are pedophiles. Maybe not all of them, but enough of them. The rest are just
Right.
naive and are helping the pedophiles. Some knowingly, a good chunk knowingly, some unknowingly, but they're helping pedophiles. So when you think about who's doing this properly, I want you to think about how pedophiles would define properly.
Yeah, I would argue that according to them, the people in charge, the Department of Education, etc., they are doing it properly. You're right. We are teaching your kids properly.
Yes,
I
but
mean,
they're
this is the
pedophiles
same thing
defining that term.
that and this is where I hope that we're winning, right? I think that I hope that our side is winning because of the things that I see going on with like the Sound of Freedom actually going to
If we're
theaters
losing,
where people can see it. And I mean, like the people that are pushing back on what was it? Who was it? Oh, Gavin Newsom the other day made stopped by a bookstore to see the banned
banned
books,
books, but
but
if
they're
they're
not banned.
banned, how do
They're
you buy
right
them at a
here.
bookstore?
They're just not allowed in schools
They're
because depictions of people performing sexual acts on each other does not belong in an elementary, middle, junior high school, and you could even argue potentially at high school. It's none. I don't think that sex ed necessarily even needs to be taught in high school. I don't know if that's
yeah.
accurate. There's an argument that can be made either way.
I'm inclined to
But
think there's definitely some things that you
that's
should be teaching them, but we're not. I don't
that's
know.
something that right, but we're teaching them sex ed but not finance.
Yeah, well, our school system's a joke.
I mean like
It's a
yeah,
competition. Like, what's
I
more
would
of a joke, our school
that
system or a
I would
justice
trade
system?
off. Like I would rather you trade off like Do a class in conspiracy theories. How about that? I'm okay with
Actually,
that.
actually, making sense of conspiracy theories would be a fantastic class to teach your high school student.
Teach teach 2 semesters, right? So in in high school, if I remember right, they well, I don't know if they do semesters now or will not or what, but in college, right, you have fall semester and spring semester. And so let's say in high school, one of the classes that you need to take is Conspiracy Theories 101 and 102.
Hmm.
And 101, it is just theories. What are current conspiracy theories? What's going on? How those, and 102 is the conspiracy theories that are actually proven true.
Like making sense of looking. Some of it would be looking at conspiracy theories and their structure,
Mhm.
and then 102 would be like, here is how you evaluate conspiracy theories based on their likelihood of based on plausibility,
Yeah.
right?
And like
Basically, sense making.
your end of project, like that would like you could do it in like sections where it's like, hey, we're going to discuss all the conspiracy theories of the government or all the conspiracy theories that we can come up with that we know or teach whatever. And then there's going to be a section of those that are these are government conspiracy theories and these are like, and here's all the conspiracy theories that were proven true. Okay. Now the thought process of understanding how did they trick everybody? One, and two, how could you have learned to not be tricked by it in the process?
Yep. Yep.
Culminating in what current conspiracy theories are going on and how would you prove or disprove each one of them?
Yeah, I somehow do not see the Department of Education being
I know, but it
working,
sounds like
allowing that.
so much. Well, yeah, they're not going to teach you to be smart enough to
Right.
make
Like,
their
whoa,
own
whoa, whoa,
system.
whoa. We're not going to help you be like, yeah, that we can't trick you. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, the education needs to change in so many ways. Um, like it is
Speaking of which,
scary.
um, Jack Posobiec was trolling people the other day, hardcore,
You're gonna
more
have to be
so
more
than,
specific.
yeah, more so than normal. Um, well, as it relates to government conspiracy theories,
Okay.
did you know that there is a national park in the US that you can go to and find gemstones naturally? You can keep whatever you find.
I think I know where this is going. Is
Google
it
Ruby Ridge to find out more.
yes. Yes.
And I mean, like, you had one for Operation Northwoods,
I've seen the one for Mockingbird.
Mockingbird.
Yep.
Yeah, like boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were several of them that came out that day, and I was like, "Oh, this is beautiful. I love it. I love it." Could you
Yeah. There
imagine
was
being working at NSA and being like, "Why have the Google search analytics skyrocketed for Ruby Ridge, Operation Northwoods, and Project Mockingbird?" This doesn't make any sense. Too many people. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're like expecting it. I'm pretty sure they have Posobiec tailed. Like I think they assign an agent to him. They have to rotate him out frequently because he starts asking all the wrong questions. But hazard of the job.
Poso converts too many.
It's like
Like
so
I'm
boss,
not
what
saying
is
like, I'm not
Project
saying that he's
Northwoods?
like right, but I'm not saying he's wrong either.
Well, I just like so what is
Well, we
Project
have to
Northwoods?
reassign you. You're moving to Alaska.
It's just like day one. So what is Project Northwoods? What? No, I'm just asking. Am I allowed to? It's day one. This is my first day here. Am I not? Oh,
No. Go ahead and
different desk. Okay.
put your headset on the table, and security will be by to escort you out in just a moment.
Why don't you take the week to just
We're
take the
no,
week?
no, no, no.
We'll
You're
resign
getting
them.
relocated to Alaska, and don't worry, your plane's waiting outside.
They just have one
Well,
ready on the tarmac.
I need to go get some stuff. No, we'll have all of your stuff packed up and shipped to you. It's not a problem.
How many
Okay.
jobs do they have in Alaska? Because I feel like they might be running out at some point. But
They actually that's part of what they actually do to people who
oh, I
don't
know.
toe the line.
You see
I've
it
known plenty of
in
people that were
State
inside the.
Department.
Mm,
Yep, yep. Bad postings.
yeah.
Bad postings.
How
But
did you get Alaska? Don't ask. Oh, haha. One of
I,
those,
I
huh?
mean,
Yep.
I mean, it does seem problematic putting all of them in a single spot. But no,
Well,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know if
just,
they do, but they have plenty of postings all over the place.
yeah. Uh,
You see somebody who is like doing really well, and then all of a sudden they get reassigned to like as an ambassador to Belarus or something for like, or Lithuania, Serbia, something. They just like why? That doesn't make any. Oh, he pissed somebody off. I got you.
yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's one of the ways you know when it's a purely political organization that they don't care about competency at all. I mean, part of it is well, you see them go after the January 6th protesters, right? I mean, they're finding people in random backwoods Alaskan towns, and sometimes they're the
But
right person, sometimes they're not.
wait. Let's be clear about this too, because they can find those people across the country, and
Hmm.
there
In
are
a matter of
people who are
months.
still in jail, have been in jail for 2 years, which
Hmm.
is longer than the sentence they would get if they were convicted,
Yep. Some without charge or
and
trial.
all of them without trial,
Yep.
still waiting on their speedy process.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, nobody seems to be able to identify the people who put the bombs in front of the two parties' like respective headquarters.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not stupid.
Well,
Oh,
but I mean,
and we can't figure out whose cocaine it was in the White House.
well,
You're
but I
telling
mean,
like January 6th. How about this? January 6th is a great example. How many, what did they say? There was like 40,000 hours of video footage at one time. I think they said somebody
yeah,
quoted that
yeah, yeah.
number. Okay. How long did that go on?
Did
4 hours?
I thought it was like three tops,
Say
but
it's four because it's an even round number.
okay, yeah.
So if it took 4 hours, how many cameras do they to have 40,000 hours of video?
10,000 cameras. I mean,
And that's
some of it's cell phone footage that they confiscated.
that they weren't releasing?
Oh yeah, I mean, they're not really. They're
I
yeah.
mean,
It's
that seems odd that you would not release the cell phone footage, but still, okay.
well, if it shows one of your federal agents in the crowd doing stuff,
Or
yeah, of course.
shooting somebody in the throat and then getting praised for it. I mean, definitely didn't wait, that did
Oh
happen. That did happen. I forgot.
yeah, but we saw that because we
Yeah.
saw it live. Um, yeah, that was
But
not a
still, I
good
mean,
shoot.
how many okay, so what, maybe there were a
But
thousand cameras in the crowd? And how about this? Your phone can't video for 4 hours.
no, but
The
if you
crowd wasn't
have,
that large.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cameras on there. There's a lot, like, yes, I'm not sure what your point is. We know that they're covering it up. My
I'm just
point
saying,
is
like,
like,
trying to figure out how many cameras there are there. How many more cameras do you, like, that's just a Capitol building. How many more cameras do you think there are in the White House?
apparently none around the Situation Room.
I
uh,
mean, that's an argument one can make, but I
no,
I
I'm
don't
not. My
believe
whole point of
that.
all of this is like they have deployed massive resources to fire their political enemies. But
Sure.
when you find people doing, but when it comes to trying to stop horrible people doing horrible things to children, horrible people doing horrible things to children,
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I
I don't know
just
if we have the
that's a
money
lot
to
of
do that,
work. We don't have the resources. That'd be really, really expensive. Like, it's
but
like
we can
it'd be
send billions
so
of dollars to
hard.
Ukraine.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. To protect Joe Biden's assets,
Right.
because Burisma has a lot of holdings in areas that are occupied by Russia.
Yeah, they're probably not getting those back.
No, no, probably not. Um,
Whoops. So much for the
yeah.
10% for the big guy.
Well, he still got his 10%, but it's not the next 10% he's going to get.
Yeah,
Like it. I mean, that's
he got
the
part of it.
we are run by corrupt pedophiles.
Mhm.
These are people
Absolutely.
that want to do terrible things, and if you want to understand what they want to do to your children, see Sound of Freedom. It will you'll get it in a way you didn't, and
I
it's
hope I hope you I hope for our sake as a country that you get it.
it is if you have children, it's essential that you get it.
Yes, absolutely.
Like
You
if
need
you
to
have
understand
children or you
this.
want to have children, go see Sound of Freedom. You need
That's a
to understand the danger.
I was going to say that's a better if you have children or plan to have children.
Like
You'd like to have children, then
it, it
yes, you absolutely need to be aware.
it'll give you an understanding of how it works, and you need to know.